This episode of the Brown Park Podcast is presented by Grow Clinics. If you're ready to take control of your hair health and your confidence, visit growclinics.com.au.
Checking 1, 2.
Hello.
G'day, what is news?
We had a guy with quite a story on the show today.
This guy's done pretty much everything. Professional sports, reality TV, been in a tsunami.
Been in a rehabilitation centre for his mental health.
Forgot about that part. Yes, that's the main part. Yes, good point.
His name is Cam Merchant, and he is our guest today on the Brown Park Podcast.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Cameron James Merchant. Hello.
Full name. Jesus, mate. Are you his dad or what?
That's very interesting, Christo. Do you know what's funny? Is that my passport actually claims Cameron James Basil Russell Merchant.
Oh.
It's given me like 4 names. And do you know how much of a punishment it is when you're trying to either book travel or documents of some description? It is. So thanks, Mum and Dad. I appreciate that. But thanks for bringing that up too, Christo.
I mean, I would have run with Basil if I was you. I reckon that's an excellent name.
I agree. It sort of come back into the trend. Oh, Basil. Yeah.
So Cameron James
Basil
Russell Merchant.
Okay. Look, I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but where does the James come from? Where does the Basil come from? Where does the Russell come from? And why did they choose to do that to you?
So James is my grandfather's name.
Yep.
And then Basil was his middle name. So Basil was his name.
Yep.
James is his middle name. Russell's my father's name.
Yep.
And that's about it.
So it's a little bit of everything. Okay, that's good.
There's a little bit of everything. And now James, funny enough, our 7-month-old is Carter James, and that represents my middle name. One of Jules's best friends who unfortunately passed away from cancer. His name was James, and her dad's middle name is James. So there's just like a James in there.
Yeah.
Free for all. So I mean, so you got a 7-month-old. How's the war going?
7-month-old and a 4-year-old. So the boys are right in the thick of it. Do you know? But I'm trying. I'm thriving. I guess we as parents, you sort of just go through a whole roller coaster of emotions. But I just find personally I guess this is just in life really. If you do the work and you figure it out, or you have the courage to try and learn some new things, then I think things get a little bit easier, and it does. Yeah. So I did the research and did the work and figured out how he can just sleep through the night, which is a very important thing.
And also there's 2 of you, so you're not outnumbered.
Not yet. Not yet. That conversation
one-on-one
continues to happen, lads, but no, we're not. But sometimes it feels like we are, because the energy of Ollie, our 4-year-old, is just electric, and then Carter, he's completely chill, so we're so grateful for that.
See, Dion's got 1, I've got 3.
Oh, well done to you, Christo.
Oh, no, he's a glutton for punishment, mate.
Yeah.
I often ask the question, people say, what's harder, going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3?
I think, look, if you think back now, like my eldest is 14, so if you think back now, it was very easy to have 1 because you had 2 on 1, right? And then you're not outnumbered with 2 on 2. So if they're both having a dummy spit, you can go, okay, well, you take that one, I'll take that one. But when you got 3 and they all decide to melt down, you're like, fuck, what do I do?
You're just leaving one outside, aren't you? Sure.
Yeah, and you kind of also, and you're trying not to, but you've also got 3 completely different sets of emotions at all times. So I've got a 14-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old. 2 girls and a boy, and the emotional needs can vary day to day. You have no fucking idea what you're waking up to.
And is it infectious? If one's in the morning, does it spread like,
We had that this morning. We while making breakfast and everything, we had one that was in a grumpy mood that then turned on the younger one, and then the 2 of them went at it, and we're just sitting there going, like, what the fuck?
But anyway, enough about Christo and us. Tell us about yourself, Cam. We were saying just before offline that you've done a fair bit of stuff and been through some stuff.
Have, mate. It has been a life that I'm very proud of, first and foremost, and it's one that I've learned many lessons about, and I just think every day we're just trying to figure it out, aren't we, whether it be parenthood, life in general, and every day dishes up something different. But if you can basically find the tools and the lessons along the way, then you've got a chance to live a life that you are genuinely proud of and that you can flourish and you can have a really good time. And I've found that, but it's definitely come through its ups and downs, and it's hitting rock bottom. And I genuinely say that I'm proud of that I'm living proof of rock bottom can genuinely be the foundation to build your life.
Well, your life would almost be a good book and a movie, right? Because just going through it, apart from the cricket, I'm trying to piece together the order of your life. I mean, because you've done so much, but I was reading somewhere that you were in the tsunami or around that time.
Yeah, 2004 Boxing Day tsunami. Not just around it, I was right in it.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that was definitely a tipping point. That what led to my downfall and where I was, and mainly because I didn't understand the emotions of it. I was a 20-year-old kid going through it. And at that stage, 2004, and I guess this is what all men is what we do, and what we're trying to break the stigma of is when we suppress our emotions and the feelings that we're going through and how we're feeling. When we do that, it just bubbles up and it boils over, and we hit breaking point. And that was for me, it was unconsciously not knowing it. I just experienced that, the trauma of it, everything that we went through, the enormity of it, and I just sort of suppressed it, buried it, didn't sort of talk about it, just went on with life because I just had things to accomplish. And that was around the time where I was just starting to play and get a taste of professional cricket, where that was my dream. That's all I ever wanted to do, was play professional cricket. And I started to get a taste of it. And through that, I'm an only child, so I took my mum and dad away Christmas 2004. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your support, the amount of hours you drive to get me to trainings and games and everything like that. So we did. I took them to Thailand, Phuket, and Patong Beach, and we settled in on Christmas Eve. We got in, and I talk about perspective because it's a really interesting thing. We settled in. I wanted nothing but the best for my parents, and I wanted got them the room, the beachside, poolside hotel room. And we got in there, and reception basically said, "Mr. Merchant, I am so sorry. We've double booked. We're going to have to put you on level 3.
Yeah.
And at the time, you can probably relate, like, how often in life do we all kick stones when something doesn't go our way? Right? You got to be kidding me. No, this is not acceptable. But what can you do? What's in my control? It wasn't that. So sort of went on, but they just basically said to me, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Merchant. We will make this up to you some way, somehow." And at the time, we don't think of anything. So anyway, we had a wonderful Christmas day on the beach, and we were just a magic Christmas day. And little did I know, genuinely 24 hours later, that my life would have changed completely, and so many others. And in the morning, we got a call to say, "Mr. Merchant, just letting you know that your room is now clean, ready to go. You can take your stuff." So we packed our bags. I went out the back to get a feed. My folks are heading down the stairs with their luggage to basically check themselves into this poolside underground hotel room. And then they just heard this huge clap of what we thought it was thunder, or no one really knew. And that was the existence of the Boxing Day tsunami that literally just ploughed its way over the beach, over the road, and through every single hotel. And unfortunately, at that stage, looking back now, it took the lives of 250,000 people, unfortunately.
So there was no warning, like, at all? Like, you were just going about your business?
No warning. No one had ever seen anything like it or heard anything like it. And the only warning that you had, I remember going out on the beach, and the waves and the water had just completely receded. And I'm talking about kilometres, like a long, long way. And there was literally fish flapping themselves on the water, and the locals were going, "How good's this? Free feed." So they were picking that up. When you look back at now how eerie it was, there were no birds, no cats, dogs, animals of any regard. So they've got an incredible sense of what's going on, and they'd all fled up into the mountains. And so it was really quiet. Yeah, and then then the waves and the surf just started to just make its way towards, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay." And then it just kept coming and just didn't stop. And that was when I lost. I was at the back, so I ended up losing my parents for over 8 hours, and we were completely separated. And when I came back, cars and jeeps and were just being flipped up, thrown through hotel rooms. They'd been thrown through shop windows, everything like that. And I came back to see our hotel room poolside was completely flooded up to the wall, up to the roof. And I just remember thinking, oh, please don't let my folks be in there.
Yeah.
And it was in that stage where if they're not and they're okay, as like perspective is a huge thing in this world. And sometimes I genuinely say that the universe is either giving you something that is holding you back from something that you're not quite ready for, or it's holding you back because there's something better around the corner. And that was my way of learning that the universe exists, and you just got to trust what is. Because did the hotel make it up to me when they said, Mr. Merchant, we're so sorry, we've double booked, we'll make it up to you? I'm so grateful that, yes, it did. Things happen for a reason. And
well, we both believe that too. We both believe universal, we don't, I don't believe in God as such, but I believe in, universe is there to guide you and do that. So it certainly showed up for you in that moment.
It did. It did. So I did everything I could in my powers on the ground to help and support. I was pretty hungover, to be honest.
Rightly so.
But it probably just kept me really, really calm, actually, because I just kept thinking I was in a Spielberg movie, just going, this is just what's happening.
So how high up in the hotel were you at this stage? Because you would have had to...
They put us on level 3.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that. So that
was sort of levels up. That's where we originally were.
It was high enough to avoid what was going on?
It was.
Okay.
It was. So that was there. And then the original pool room that we had was actually underground. So you got the pool level and then you actually had to go down little stairs to get to
So if you're in that room, you would have probably been...
perished, 100%.
So how long? So you said you were separated from your mum and dad for 8 hours. Where did they go during that period?
So they were headed to an evacuation point, and it got to the stage where I was doing everything that I possibly could on the ground, and a gentleman manager basically said to me, young man, thank you so much for all your help. We could be expecting another wave. We've got one more evacuation bus that heads up the mountains. We need you to get on it and basically get out of here. And I remember thinking, look, I haven't found my folks. Where are they? And so a lot of us got on this evacuation bus. We headed up the mountains, and there was 3 evacuation points. The first one, the people got off and they reunited with loved ones, and it was really lovely. Couldn't see my folks. Headed up to the second one, same thing again. People got off, reunited with loved ones. And we headed to the third one, and I was the last person on this bus. And I remember just thinking, I had my head in my hands, and I remember just thinking that realization of reality, like, holy shit. You know that moment when you sort of go, this can't happen to me. There's no way.
Yep.
But I just remember thinking, holy shit, and my life flashed before me, and I was always starting thinking, okay, well, fuck, are we going to start, do I have to live my life as a 20-year-old kid on my own? Like that's how it was. And I remember just thinking, okay, this is what I've got to do. This is what I'm going to have to do it. And then the bus driver turned around to me and he said, young man, I'm so sorry. You can't come back down to ground zero with me. You have to get off here regardless whether you see your folks or not. And I remember just thinking, oh, okay, well, here is the moment. So we pulled up to that evacuation point, and I had my head in my hands, and I basically just looked out the window, and my old man walked around the corner, and I couldn't believe it, because the first thing I thought was, first of all, he was smoking a dart, and I was like, I'm not sure if he smokes. It's a pretty stressful situation, understandable. And the second one, mate, he had one of the Red Bull Thailand shirts on. And I thought, when did you get a chance to immerse yourself in the culture and go shopping? This is unbelievable. Like, so that the first 2 thoughts that went through my head. I literally just held up. I just went, hey, mate. And he just went, Cameron's here. Cameron's here. My mum bolted around the corner, and she had tears in her eyes. And it was a pretty surreal moment. We hugged and we embraced, and it was the strongest, most surreal moment I've ever been involved with. And not only that, there were so many people that at the evacuation point, they all surrounded us, and they just cheered and clapped. And they basically just said, Cam, we knew you were okay. We knew you were fine. We kept telling your mum all day that you were going to be okay. And I remember just thinking, like, you don't even know me. And there's so many people that unfortunately lost their lives. Why would I be any different? Yeah. But one thing I understood in that moment, and I generally believe it was very similar to COVID when we all dealt with it, was that we are stronger together, And the human spirit is genuinely alive and well when we want it to be. And in that moment, my mum was just looking for some sort of hope.
Yep.
All she was after. She's like, have you seen my son? He's really handsome. He's good looking. He's charismatic, all the above.
So she completely didn't describe you properly.
Not at all. No. And Nate said, well, I don't think I've seen that guy, but I've seen some of them. Yeah. And they just said, we remember seeing him at breakfast, and they were just telling porky pies, really. But they were just keeping this hope alive for my mum to just keep going. I think that's what we need as humans. We just need a little bit of hope to keep going. And I remember being so grateful for that, because that human spirit was so evident in that moment. And like I said, it was in COVID. We stuck together. We were stronger together. We kept hope alive, and that's what kept us together. And then, I basically came back to Sydney, and that's when it all started to snowball.
We fast forward, you get back home, you've suppressed this trauma. How was the trauma showing up for you post that event? So
my mum and dad were living at the Gold Coast, funny enough, at the time. I was living in Sydney, playing cricket at Manly, starting to play sort of representative cricket. And every time someone wanted, so I just went about my business. I was just on my own. I didn't have anyone to really talk to about it. Everyone just wanted to talk what I'd experienced. Like, oh, wow, you've gone through this. And I just found every time I was in a room, I'd just get really hot and I'd start belting and beating out sweat, just piles of sweat, every time I'd start talking about it. And I was so unaware what was going on. And I'd be just like, oh, is it really hot in here? And I'd just have to exit and just get outside for a little bit. And they're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally fine. is it hot? And every time I talk about it, the dots just didn't align for me, and I didn't understand it. And looking back after years, it was genuine PTSD trauma that I was dealing with. That every time I talk about it, my brain and my nervous system just hadn't caught up, hasn't reasoned with it. And this was the warning signs. I think my body, which is our body and our brains, are just so incredible. This is the signs they're trying to tell us and warn us about to get some help.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Real fellas.
Let's talk about something that affects millions of us, and it's sometimes subtle and other times not so subtle. It's hair loss. It can be a real knock to confidence, right? Well, if you're looking for real solutions, not just empty promises, you need to know about Grow Clinics. Grow Clinics are leading the way in hair restoration, performing over 150 hair transplants every month. That tells you something right there. These aren't just technicians. Procedures are led by experienced doctors who are specialists in their field. And they're not just about transplants either. Grow Clinics understands that hair loss is complex, so they offer a comprehensive range of treatments. Think everything from prescription hair care you can use at home to cutting-edge, non-invasive in-clinic procedures. They tailor solutions to your specific needs. And the best part, they're conveniently located. Whether you're in Brisbane, the Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, or even across the ditch in Auckland, New Zealand, there's a Grow Clinics near you. They're so confident in what they do, they're offering a free consultation to listeners of the Brown Park Podcast, so just mention us when you book and you'll get expert advice with no obligation. So if you're ready to take control of your hair health and your confidence, visit Grow Clinics. It's time to rediscover your best self.
This is the Brown Park Podcast.
But it's absolutely necessary.
So you were playing cricket, right? You played for Australia for a brief moment?
I played my county cricket here, or my professional cricket was Sydney Sixers, New South Wales here, but then my majority of my first class cricket was in New Zealand. My mum's New Zealand, so I went over there to really achieve my dream, and I was there for 4 years. Achieved a dream in regard. I was a professional cricketer, played first-class matches, first-class hundreds, but it was during that time that something just still wasn't right. And I remember achieving my dream and doing everything that I'd always dreamed about. And all I wanted to do was just finish, go home, get under the covers and just let the day surpass, basically. And at that stage, I didn't realise it. Like, I was dealing with genuine anxiety and depression that had set in. That was obviously been there for a little bit because there was a moment I played my first class games, but I didn't even have an idea of, I mean, again, I was 25, so I didn't have an idea of what I was dealing with, what I'd just accomplished. It was, I just want to go home, put my head under the covers because I'm feeling this sort of darkness and nothing feels vibrant. This zest and enthusiasm in life that I used to feel is not there anymore. And I ended up coming home and spending some time with my mum, and I remember telling her what I'm feeling, and she was like, great. And what I love about her, and I'm so grateful that she never cast judgment about how I was feeling. She just went, okay, let's go see a psychiatrist. And we did, and told him what I was feeling, what I was going through. And he basically said, what this is obviously you're dealing with a few things, and it's great that we can catch you. You've caught it early and you can talk about it. And this is what I have is a couple of therapy sessions, but also here's some antidepressants that he put me on. And I remember just thinking, oh, what, this little white pill, there's no way this is going to make me feel not the way that I'm feeling. And basically he was just saying, you've caught it, because a lot of people, again, continue to suppress that, can't deal with it, and then do the absolute worst, unfortunately. So I did. 7 days later, I was actually seeing some vibrant colours and feeling a little bit more myself. And I thought, holy shit, this is working. So then that allowed me to get back to at least a place where I was enjoying my cricket. I was a little bit more myself, and I started to flourish and bring home the results cricket-wise that I always dreamed of. But again, I look back at it of why it's ended up crashing, and it just makes so much sense.
And when did it all come crashing down?
So your mental health is genuinely like having a bath. You genuinely need to do it every single day of what works for you personally, individually. It's a unique experience, whatever that is for you to flourish and thrive and just have positive mental health. It's your secret recipe that you need to do every single day. And I started to do it because the antidepressants helped me along the way, and I started to feel really good. But when things didn't quite go well, I still didn't have the strategies and the tools to pick myself up and go. I just went, oh, this is not feeling good. This is not feeling good. Do I double down on antidepressants? What's going on? And then I just hit rock bottom, and then I was in a world of hurt, and that was at a stage. Then from that, I ended up losing my contract, my cricket career, a long-term relationship that really literally busted. All of a sudden, from finances to a place to live. I was coming back from my last cricket tour from Toronto in Canada. I was coaching and professional over there, and I was coming back to Sydney, and I was in the middle of Vancouver, and I was just, all my pillars had completely pulled out. You know, when you've got, in life, you've got a work pillar and a relationship pillar and career or finance or whatever, or family, and if one goes, the rest of them can sort of hold everything up. Yeah. They all got wiped out at once, and I was just in no place to be able to deal with that, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. All I knew that I was crippled mentally, and I ended up being homeless in Vancouver airport for 4 days on my own.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put pants on. Like that was at my worst, where I mentally and physically was shaking and couldn't put my pants on. And I just remember thinking, wow, mate, look where you've come from where you are now. And that was the time that I tried on my own life and had suicidal thoughts, and fortunately, it didn't come through.
So you actually at one point tried to
exit. And it was in one of the rooms with a towel, and it was heartbreaking, but it was just, unfortunately, I think a lot of people, when they're going through pain and anguish and they're tired and exhausted, you feel like you've got no choice other than one choice, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that choice is then permanent. And
then the road back feels like it's so far away doesn't it?
So far. Because I had to also deal with judgment coming back, and it's like, hang on, Cam, but he was just travelling. He was a professional cricketer. He was this happy-go-lucky guy. So I had to deal with my own head to think, what's everyone going to think?
That's where ego comes into play, doesn't it? Like
big time.
Yeah.
Big time comes into it. We all deal with it, whether we lose the job or lose a relationship. But what it ends up being is that it's identity. We put ourselves in that identity space. So Christo, for you, it might be, Christo, the radio announcer, but I've got no doubt you are so much more than that. So if that didn't go to plan, you'd be thinking, fuck, where am I? Who am I? Think how that happens to so many people who lose their identity, but not really understanding the person that they are. That's when we sort of look to find who we are essentially on the inside, to create the peace and the person that we know that we can be, that we can step into anything and be that beautiful individual.
That tends to happen to a lot of sports people. when their career sort of comes to an end, they go, what now? Who am I? What have I done? You kind of need to start laying that foundation before you know your career is going to wrap up, because as a sports person, unless you're playing lawn bowls, your career has a finality to it. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have to prepare what you're doing well in advance so that you don't get to the end and go,
now what?
Fuck, what now?
Yes. And I see it, and I went through it. That's exactly what I dealt with. And now I, again, helping from youngsters to adults to sports people to really getting on top of that and understanding themselves as a person, finding themselves, opposed to wrapping themselves up in the identity to, oh, you're just Cam the cricketer or whoever that is. Like, no, you're Cam. You know, this is who you are, and doesn't matter what it is, whether it's sport, work, business, relationship. This is who you are, and that's not going to define you. It's not until you hit this rock bottom that I always think it's an eagle eye that you look up above and look over your whole life and go, oh, shit, that makes sense. How could I have not known?
How did I miss it?
How did I miss it? Yeah. But you've got to go through it. You've got to hit a wall. You've got to hit rock bottom or some sort of down to learn the lesson. And that's okay. It's just how we reframe it and get ourselves back up.
Well, that's what my tattoo was all about, that, because I hit rock bottom when I was, I want to say, 17, 18. And
then again, when 20.
The genuine rock bottom for me, and I always say, like, rock bottom is a great place to plant your feet and just really set a solid foundation. And what you're saying is the same thing. And I look back at what I went through then, and I wouldn't be half as, I guess, forgiving to people, a bit more connected and a bit more, I don't know how to put it. I relate to people that are going through a hard time. I don't just immediately write them off. Like, if you do see someone that's addicted to drugs or whatever, then you're like, you have that level of empathy once you've hit rock bottom, and it really opens up your mind and opens up the world around you, and you see the world in a more loving place.
Agreed. And that's the kindness piece, and I usually say that day to day. You would just be kind. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know what they're going through, and you can give them that opportunity and see where they are, lend a hand, and give them that time. It's not easy.
So you came back to Australia and you found yourself in a mental health facility. How did you get to that point? Did you know that you needed to go and seek further help, or did somebody go, hey, this might be for you?
Yeah, I have a really distinctive moment that I'll always be grateful for, and it was I got back, knew that I wasn't in a great place, but tried to cover it up with my mask, and it could have been heading out. And no, I'm fine. And you're fine for just a little bit, but deep down I was hollow. And I was staying on a mate's couch for a couple of weeks trying to sort out my life, and I had nothing going for me. I was literally at a loose end, and I was on the floor of his bedroom on a phone to a mate who'd actually been through something similar and who'd been to rehab. And again, back then, like rehab, all I thought, you think about mental rehabilitation, white
straight jacket. Yeah.
So, and it was just, and I was like, no, mate, no, I'm fine, I'm okay. And he just had this one moment, this one sentence that will always stick with me. And he basically said, mate, do you realise that if you don't make change now, we will be having the exact same conversation in a month's time? And that's all he needed to say. Because basically I knew that with everything I was talking about, and I'll be fine, and not doing the same and just continuing to do the same thing over and over again, I wasn't making any change. I wasn't making any difference, and I needed to. And without change, nothing changes. And I knew I had this fast forward moment that, we'd be on the phone again in a month's time and be having the exact same conversation. So that was the tipping point. That was the line in the sand. And I literally took that breath and I went, okay. And I had acceptance over that situation right now, and I felt a lot calmer. I felt a lot lighter. I walked into the living room with my best mate and I said, mate, this is what I'm doing. And he just hugged me and he said, I'm proud of you. Because it gets to a stage when whatever you're going through, you tell your mates and your friends and your family and your loved ones who care about you about what's going on for a certain period, and then it just gets too much for them. And then they're like, mate, like, we're here for you, but you got to start taking accountability and ownership on your life. We can't do this. And we've heard this story over and over and over again, and that's what the point it got to. So for me to seek my own help was pretty special. and definitely life-changing. I said the same thing to my folks. They took me there, Palm Beach Currumbin Mental Rehabilitation Centre, and the doors literally opened up, and that's when I remember thinking, right, so this is what rock bottom looks like.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I resisted for probably 2 weeks. I was in there for a good 6 weeks. I resisted for the first week and a half. I
resisted what, the type of therapy they were trying to give you, or
I think again the ego, the identity, the judgment, the I shouldn't be here. And there's a lot of people that are in that, like, no, I don't need to be here. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. You think about it with it be A&A or drugs, alcohol, relationship, whatever it might be. There's that first denial part. I was like, no, this is not me. But reality is it is. And so I did, and it came to that moment, and I was on my hospital bed, and I literally had this moment of like my tablets again, and I just remember thinking, right, this is it. Like, I'm hurting here too much. I can't deal with it. And all the thoughts go in your head like, everyone will be better off without me. This is it. And as I literally had tears streaming down my face, and I remember just thinking, right, here we go. And then this voice came over me and it just flooded me. And it was basically like, hey, mate, like, you've done a lot in your life. You've achieved so many things you've always wanted to achieve. I know there's still a couple of things that you would love to achieve, and it's finding your soulmate, getting married and having a family. They're things that you always wanted. Don't give up now. Yep. And I remember just thinking, first of all, I haven't had a positive voice in my head for months. Now you decide to show up. And it was just incredible. And it was like, okay, you're right. And I remember just thinking, and I put down my tablets, and I remember just thinking, all right, if you're going to do this, then that's your why. And I always think that's how we start. It's creating your why first. What's getting you out of bed? And that was I lost hope. I lost hope of anything. There was nothing getting me out of bed. And then all of a sudden it was, okay, well, let's meet you, the love of your life, and let's have a family. It's things you've always wanted. And then I remember thinking, all right, what does that look like? How do we do that? Because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next month. And it might not happen in a year. Funnily enough, it ended up taking 10 years, but it was the process.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Now, a word from our sponsors.
Are you one of the many Australians experiencing hair loss? Do you find yourself avoiding the mirror or constantly trying new products that just don't work? Well, there's a solution that's backed by science and delivers real results, and it's Grow Clinics. Grow Clinics is a leading hair transplant clinic with locations across Australia and New Zealand. They perform over 150 hair transplants every single month, and their procedures are led by experienced doctors who are experts in the field of hair restoration. But Grow Clinics isn't just about hair transplants. They offer a wide range of services to combat all stages of hair loss. Whether you're looking for prescription hair care you can use at home, or you're interested in specialised non-invasive treatments in clinic, Grow Clinics has you covered. With clinics in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth and Auckland, New Zealand, there's a Grow Clinic near you. And the best part, they're offering a free consultation for our listeners of the Brown Park Podcast. Just mention our show when you call in to book, and you'll be on your way to a fuller, healthier head of hair. So don't wait any longer. Take control of your hair loss journey with Grow Clinics.
This is the Brown Park Podcast with Christo and Dion. Now back to the show.
So the little voice in your head that was telling you to do all this, did it also tell you to apply to Married at First Sight?
Jesus, yeah, because you sound like in the most, unconventional way possible.
It certainly is, but do you know what? I often think, like I said, it was when I made that decision, I put that out into the universe to say, well, this is my why. I'm going to strive and I'm going to work on myself because that's the thing that keeps me going. And it's just funny that it happened to come back in the most unique circumstances of all time.
I was going to say, because you put yourself right in the middle of a show that is, A, controversial at best. It always sparks a lot of intrigue and conversation every single year. It's like one of the highest rating shows on the tally.
I love the fact, Christo, that I can imagine you in obviously when you're on the radio, and you'd be talking about this every day, wouldn't you?
We used to, yeah. Because you have to. It's in the zeitgeist. It's what people are talking about.
Yeah. So I didn't put myself in that situation. All I did was put myself at Manly Wharf Bar for a couple of drinks on a Wednesday night with 3 married mates, and we're just sitting around a bar table where 2 producers came up and basically a guy and a girl basically said, "Hi guys, any of you single here?" And all my mates pointed to me, and I sort of went, "I'm in for a hell of a night here. This is
aren't you? Hey,
Yeah.
I'm all ears. I'm open to it. Let's go." And they basically just said, "Yeah, well, look, we're auditioning for a reality dating program show. Are you interested?" And I actually went, I thought about the timing. I thought, it's not MAFS, is it? And they went, "Yeah, it is. Are you interested?" And I basically told them my story, where I've come from, what I'm doing. And they went, "Great." Took a photo. Next thing, producers I'm talking to producers and going down that whole streamline of the audition process.
luckily you had your mental health in check going into that.
Yeah, because that could destroy you, right?
I often say to Jules all the time, the reason why we worked, the reason why we were able to get through that, and I wouldn't say unscathed because there's still some moments, but is because Jules and I have such similar life stories. I mean, she wasn't in rehab, but in terms of travel, career, relationships, goals, everything like that, we've had to figure it out on our own as individuals. And then once we got to each other, we'd figured out ourselves, or at least at best if we possibly could at that time of what worked for us.
So tell me, because we interviewed Drew Brower, I want to say two years ago or something, and he was on MAFS, and he at the time said he told them everything that he didn't want in a partner, and that's who they matched him up with for the drama. But in your case, do you feel that they did the best they could to put you with your most suited match?
Oh, I wouldn't say exactly, because Jules and I were so open to it, because we're like, no, you're not what we'd originally dated. You weren't my type. Who we'd been originally. And we were so open and honest about that. And that's what we built our relationship on pure honesty and trust and conversations like that. And that's where we're very grateful for MAFS as well, because if there's anything it does do, it really gets you opening and talking about everything. And we created that foundation of just being open, honest, and we were. So we're totally fine with that. No, she asked for tall. She asked for tall. I still think that they put me on my, look back at my wedding, they put me in a ditch to make me even look smaller than what I was.
Really?
They put Matt over at a ditch. And it didn't help that my best man is almost 7 foot and my 3 best men are like all 6 foot. And I'm not that small. Like I'm 174 centimeters. I'm still average height.
Okay, so that's my height. Yeah. So that's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they just made me look so much smaller, and then I swear they just put me in this ditch and then dug a hole and then put the mat over it and then said, "Yeah, stand here, Cam." And then I was like, huh? And then she's just like, "Oh my gosh, I think he's really short." And the same thing, I like my type was sporty, and we were both open. What it did, as soon as we met, we locked eyes and we had this instant warmth and this comfortability about each other. And then the over time, the experiment allowed us just to connect on a completely deeper level. Because we always say that we probably wouldn't, if we met in a bar, we'd probably walk past each other or that side. But the experiment gave us 3 months to really connect, get deep, and understand each other with experts around and understanding of what our relationship was like and how we can continue to improve it. And that we gave it that chance, all because, again, we knew who we were, and we didn't snap to the "you're not my type" and then close off, shut off, and then the drama creates. I generally think there's probably some real matches in there, but as soon as
they close themselves off,
themselves off straight away, and then you're not understanding, and then all you're doing is focusing on the drama, and from there, and then it just doesn't work. So we were lucky to see through that, see past that, and come out and
You're thriving,
6 years later now. We've got a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old, and continue to work on our relationship and each other and our family every day. I'm so grateful for it.
I mean, I guess with MAFS in that scenario, if you put down your type, the person, personality wise, looks wise, if you're on MAFS, your type hasn't actually worked for you up until that point because you're on MAFS, isn't it? So I guess if they put you with an opposite, it does give you the opportunity to, like you say, be open to a different way of operating.
Yes, and that's what it is. I understand. Sometimes it blows me away. I still think, what are people going on there now? Because if you think about it, there's 160 couples maybe in the whole time, and there's 6 kids and about 4 or 5 marriages. Yeah. So I always say, and I'm still so grateful for the experiment and the time that we had, but if you're going on it, you're genuinely being realistic. You're not going on it to find love. You're going on it to find one step closer to finding out more about yourself, and one step closer to what you either are attracted to and do want in life, or you don't. And you're one step, yes, you're a chance of finding love with either yourself or with someone else out in the outside world that fits into what you are understanding, that what you like. So there is a process to it. Whether people understand that when they're going in there, I don't know, because you'll hear it's edited and all this thing. Like, you're still saying those things.
Yeah, that's right. They can't edit it that you haven't said.
I get that.
Yeah.
They'll portray a person and a villain, and they'll continue to really hone in on that with music or whatever that looks like. But at the same stage, you have to take accountability for your actions and behaviours.
So, listening to your story and where you are now, where you're helping people on a daily basis, and like your life is like almost like a whole series of sliding door moments. Does that make sense?
Oh, more than ever. I run on that on a daily basis. Of basically my mantras are, it is what it is. Control the things that you can and can't control, and just trust the process and trust the universe. And I think when you can relinquish that control and just accept what is, life genuinely does open up for you, whether you miss the plane or something. The spilt milk is a perfect example of, like, I can't control that. Why put my energy into what I can't control? All I can focus on is the next moment, and that's what the solution is, and mopping that up or understanding that, okay, something along the lines, I don't know what that moment is, I don't know what the meaning of this is yet, and I'm sure millions of people are in that boat. They're hurting, they're struggling, they're going through this moment right now where they're just asking the question, why am I feeling like this? Why is this happening to me? And I know it's so hard to figure out in that moment, but if you can relinquish that and just trust the process, then somewhere along the lines it will make sense. You will take the lessons from it, and you look back and you just think, thank you. You genuinely.
I totally agree in that not giving up, but giving in to a circumstance or a bad circumstance, and actually stepping back, going for it. I'm learning something here. I just need to be conscious enough to see it.
Yep. Yeah. And that's so many people, mate, right? And so many people might go from a diagnosis that they've just received and things like that. And I know that's really hard to accept, and you might think, it's so much easier for you, or whatever that might be. But I'm doing a diploma of positive psychology and wellbeing at the moment, and it's understanding the flourishing, knowing your tools and your strategies, that when you're going through something and you're languishing, what can we apply to reframe some things so you're not sitting in that languish moment for as long as you can, and you can continue to thrive and flourish in a better environment. And those things are like, okay, well, is you sitting around feeling sorry for you and casting that negativity about this shouldn't happen to me, or is that serving you in the situation, or the friend that might be dealing with something or something? Or can you reframe that and go, well, how about, what does that person need? That person just needs me to be supportive. That person needs me to enjoy the time that I've got with them. That person needs me to come up with solutions to go, hey, what do you need from me right now? Can we go somewhere that's going to make your time here that little bit better? Whatever you're going through. And that's where we need to work together with. And again, when you it's not an easy process, but when you start it bit by bit and day by day, then you can restructure your neuro-linguistic programming and your neuroscience and your neural pathways to start really focusing on the good opposed to the negative.
Yeah, no, for sure.
One thing you said just quickly really resonated with me, and you kind of just mentioned it and then moved on, but it was without change, nothing changes.
That's where we sit. It's where a lot of people sit again. And if you're not willing to make that change, and it's not easy. Change is not easy at all. And I created, which basically right now, finding my book at the moment, which I'm writing, and I just went really deep, and I had to go on from where I was to not being able to put pants on, to suicidal tendencies, to the absolute rock bottom of where life is, to where I am now, to genuinely consistently happy and flourishing in life. And I'm so proud of it. I just had to create the pillars of what I actually went through. Yeah. And those 8 steps, those guides to flourishing and thriving and finding that inner peace are exactly what that was, Christo. It's your why, understanding what's getting you out of bed, what's going to create that hope and that drive to where you want to be. Then it's the accountability of, okay, what does that look like? The accountability is on me. When I was sitting in my hospital bed and I said, right, I take pure accountability and responsibility for my life. I'm not going to cast blame upon anyone else. I take it on me. The good, the bad, the ugly. I'm here because of me, my situation, the decisions that I've made along the way. I need to learn about that. Another voice basically came over, and I swear it was the universe, came to me and basically said, "Oh, Cameron, fuck, we've been waiting.
So glad you got here.
So long. Yeah. We've been waiting for you to take accountability for so long. Watch some really cool things happen for you now."
Well, Cameron James Basil Russell Merchant.
Oh, you got it. I was trying to put the whole. Good job, mate. You've got notes there, don't you?
Thank you very much for your time. If anybody wants to reach you, you've got your website.
Yes, CameronMerchant.com, and my Instagram @CamMerchant.
Well,
boys, it has been such a pleasure, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Huge congratulations to you boys and having these conversations, and just how important it is and what you're doing, being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, telling your story, and those that are connecting to it, being able to share theirs as well. So having a huge impact, and be really proud of that.
We couldn't do it without guests like you coming on the show, mate. So, ditto to that.
And you are the first person on our show that's ever had 2, 3, 4, 5 names.
Love it.
You're good.
Love it. It's a challenge. Go and find someone else that's got 6 names.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking, but I think it's going to be hard to top, mate. But thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, champion.
Absolute pleasure, boys. You are geniuses. I love your work, and keep being amazing. Keep looking after yourself and keep looking after loved ones.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
The Brown Podcast.
Why are you happy?
Because I don't want to be sad.